Hey everyone, welcome to my show. Be sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch for all my exclusive content. Hello again, Star Wars players. Gonna do another game review, something I haven't done in a little while, but I was happened to be watching this game on GEMP earlier in the week, and two great players having some very good back and forth interactions, and I thought, well, this is make a great video, honestly. So here we are, and what better way to, get back into doing some videos than with two legends of the game, kind of guys linked in history a little bit, if you will. Here, we've got up top playing Darkside. We've got Shaw 6167193, aka Greg Shaw, newest inductee of the Hall of Fame, and all the way back in 2002. A young high school student he was just then, became the youngest person to ever reach the World Finals, finishing second that year to Angelo Consoli. That was the same year that Zlorfik, playing Lightside, Bastian Winkelhaus, was inducted into the Decipher Hall of Fame, if memory serves correctly. So, we're kind of bookending one of the first Hall of Famers and the most recent Hall of Famer, playing two of the most popular decks in the field right now. So let's jump right in and check out the action. All right, so I always do that when I'm watching a replay. So we got Shaw playing Shadow Collective. And I believe Bastian here will be playing the Anakin family. Anakin Saga, yep. So we'll go through the setup here real quick. Now, one of the best ways to learn a deck is to play the deck yourself. Get the basic mechanics down. What are your sources of damage? What are you trying to do? What do you need to set up? How do you flip your objective? What ways can your opponent disrupt what you're planning on doing, right? Get a feel for it. Why did I lose? Well, my opponent took over my audience chamber, or, they went to space and I have no ships in my deck. Okay, well, that might be a weakness or something like that. Then, once you have the basic understanding of how to use a deck down, how to get better with the deck, watch people play it better than you, honestly, is the best way to do it. So, let's go ahead and take a look here. We'll look at the setup. So we got Shaw playing Darkside. He started with Shadow Collective. You cannot hide forever and mob points. Most likely it means he's playing the Gaul version of the deck. There's several different versions of Shadow Collective. Some use Maul with his lightsaber. Some use this effect as the third effect, so they can pull the Gaul system, which has some bonuses we'll get into in a little bit. He's starting You'll Be Dead for the ping damage. This is when you if you control a battleground site with a non-permanent weapon blaster, you cause some extra ping damage. That's these blasters, which the Shadow Collective objective pulls. They usually run 4 to 5 guns. You can also play inconsequential losses as an effect. That lets you, during battle, each character can forfeit a non-lightsaber weapon to their used pile for 3 forfeit. So, those low destiny draws, you can forfeit the guns back to the used pile to keep them around. Then you can pull them back out with your objective on subsequent turns. Third effect he started was security precautions for just the extra force generation to get up to 6 to start with. Over on the light side, we've got the Anakin. The force is strong in my family. He chose Anakin. My father has it. So that means the only Jedi that he's allowed to deploy are Anakin, Episode 1 Obi-Wan, which is the General Kenobi, and Yoda. He gets an extra +1 force generation. Jedi Anakin is deploy -1 from the V16. And every time he initiates a battle with the Skywalker, he gets to retrieve a force. Sometimes people will combo that up with things like Draw Their Fire or General Leia Organa, so they can battle and retrieve 2 or 3 force each time. Make some pretty big swings, kind of get you back in the game pretty quickly if you're, just initiating a battle and retrieving 3 cards. It's probably the guys you lost from the last battle. That's what's made Scum so successful over the years, is its ability to do that. He chose to start Wackling for the extra force generation. Might have an effect in here that he can pull. Maybe something like a disarmed or a projection of a Skywalker or something that he can pull with that. We'll have to wait and see, but most likely it's just the extra 1 force and the once per game retrieval that make Walkling so strong. And then also starting Best Star Pilot in the Galaxy, which you can only start if you're using one of the epic events. Gets you the Polis Massa system, so now you've got a space battleground, extra force generation early on, and then once per game, you can simultaneously deploy from hand and or reserve deck as your Angel with the matching pilot, which is going to be Anakin. The Falcon matching pilot, either Han or Chewie, or Red 5 and its matching pilot being Luke. We'll see which combination he's using here. Most people tend to use the Falcon, because then you can pull Han or Chewie, and then the Falcon itself pulls the other one. So you get Han, Chewie, and the Falcon all set up, all from reserve deck, which is pretty pretty solid, pretty strong. You're usually looking at like immune to less than 7, 2 battle destiny. Chewie gets around Zuckuss, so very strong card here in these epic event based decks. All right, let's get the action rolling. All right, so we do see Greg take Gaul into hand. There's quite a mercenary to get Chewie Protector. Okay, so probably not playing the Falcon. Now Greg will ditch mob points, and he's going to grab the inconsequential losses that we were talking about. This is the one that lets you forfeit your weapons to the used pile. Bastion's going to play now. This is pod racing to take the Skywalker Hut. It's another 2-0 that gets you 3PO, so you can start cycling interrupts. So pretty solid start for both players in terms of getting some activation and stuff out. The Shadow Collective objective pulls cards with the title First Light, which can get you both the locations as well as the ship. Do have to be a little careful with that, because if the ship is the only thing there and you do have a place to put it out, you might have to deploy it. Shadow Collective starts the Dathomir Chamber site, which does download Maul. It's not a once per game either, so if Maul dies and you've got multiple Mauls, or you retrieve him somehow, you can pull him right back out again. He's just going to put Maul on the table and basically pass. His 2-0 location was not in there. Looks like he just drew it and picked it up into hand. This is the site you kind of need to get Maul moved around. So typically what you'll do is you'll deploy Dathomir. You'll deploy Maul to Dathomir. Use the objective, pull the 2-0 site. During your move phase, Crimson Dawn leader can move between here and another site. Maul is a Crimson Dawn leader. So you'll pull Maul, and then you'll move him to the 2-0, and then later you can either move him from here to where your opponent is, because this Maul never deploys to a battleground, so he can only go to non-battleground sites to start with. He's hiding in the shadows, right? Then he can move out, and then he can do some damage else, or you can just move him over to one of your adjacent 2-1 First Light sites, start force draining, give Maul a blaster maybe or something, and start doing some ping damage. You've got options for how you want to use them. Let's do this. Zlorfik getting a very good start. In addition to getting his 2-0 site puller and Polis Massa and 3PO, he also had a Jedi Council chamber puller. So now he's got that. You can see he's jumped ahead to a 15-10 activation ratio. At the end of his first turn, he's already getting 15 force, and his opponent has given him very few icons. 1, 2, 3. He got 12 all on his own. Very fast start. It's the way it's supposed to go, ideally, right? That's what you want to have. That's why you're playing 3 or 4 Jedi Council pullers, 3 or 4 copies of Now This Is Pod Racing to get your 2-0 site out. All right, so Shaw went and looked. Most likely looking for the other site. Looks like he activated it, so he does have the option to deploy a blaster, which he's going to do. He's going to put that on Maul. Now he'll move Maul. Keep him at the 2-0, draw a couple cards. We'll probably see him play one of these point man here to put something back. He's up to a 13 card hand. Now he's finding some characters here. There's another grabber. Nope, not going to play out the point man. Okay. All right, so Bastion does have Luke plus R2 and red 5. Deploys for 4. Ship deploys for 4. Luke of ability less than 5 deploys for free aboard. Sometimes you'll see people pull the Imperial Detention Shield, so anytime your opponent deploys something for free, if it's not in their text, they have to pay 2 force instead. When he's activating 15, that's not really as much of a hindrance, probably not worth the shield pull in this situation. If you're expecting him to play other cards for free, like Leia's Resistance Transport and then pulling Rey for free, maybe you might want to consider pulling it early, especially if you have like a Cold Feet or something that gets you extra shield pulls. Once you see him pull Chewie, it's pretty safe to assume he's not playing the Falcon. And then you have to think, well, is it Red 5 or is it the Azure Angel? And you don't know which version of Red 5 it is, so I understand Greg not pulling the shield here. Because some people would also think that, okay, if he's pulling Red 5, it's probably the virtual Red 5, which is completely immune to attrition and lets you force drain regardless of objective restrictions, so it gets around Hunt Down being flipped. So having Luke in space against Hunt Down is not a problem. Whereas this situation here is a little bit of a problem if you're playing against Hunt Down. Maybe he's got both copies. Probably not. I guess he's just going to take his chances that he can kill Vader on the ground. Or flip him back with using Yoda or possibly Kenobi. So, slow start so far. Fast activation jump for light side. Not really putting much to the table yet. Setting up the area that they feel they're safer in. Space is typically the weaker area for Shadow Collective. There's probably only like 2, maybe 3 ships at most. Usually it's a First Light, and then, you know, some type of bounty hunter ship, whether it's Zuckuss or Fett and Slave 1 or something. So now we've got the First Light coming out. With the Prince aboard as a passenger, he'll probably get... Oh, Jabba's coming too. Okay. And he'll probably get a gun. No guns in deck. Zuckuss was the other ship we did see, though. He will deploy the blaster there. So, all right, let's just recap. He put the Prince down, who's adding 2 to the power of piloting. His rest of his game text only applies when he's out of sight. He is a gangster and a leader and a warrior and a Black Sun agent, one of the few characters that actually is a Black Sun agent without the objective. So the Black Sun blaster here deploys for free if you're Black Sun agent leader on table, which is basically the Prince in this situation. So he doesn't have to pay 1 to put this gun out. Only goes on alien warriors. Basically just giving himself an out in case he needs some more forfeit. So he doesn't have to lose like both characters. If by some chance like Bastion can add a destiny to attrition with Luke. While he's piloting, he can add to power or attrition. So if he adds a destiny to attrition and he draws higher than 6, which is what both of these characters forfeit, he'd have to lose both people. He's giving himself a little more flexibility here by adding the gun. So now a gun and a guy covers 9. Maul subtracts 1 from a just drawn battle destiny. So realistically, you're thinking you're covering 10 in this situation, which is pretty solid here. Jabba's going to add a battle destiny because he's with an alien leader. The other thing, too, is the ship here. Total battle destiny is +1 for each gangster aboard. So you've got gangster, gangster, and gangster. Characters at the First Light sites count for the ship because they are technically aboard the First Light by being at the site. They're in like the lower decks area of the ship. So his total battle destiny is +3, and he's drawing 2 destiny. pretty decent chance here that he can beat 7, which is Luke's forfeit value, and clear the whole thing. Now, we did get a look. Destiny in the deck did not look all that promising. A bunch of characters that were in there. Greg is going to battle. He's going to pull Secret Plans, okay. He's going to add the Destiny to Attrition. Doesn't pull Coward here. Interesting. So there's Hondo. And 3. So that gets him a total of 5 from his 2 Destiny. Total Battle Destiny here, +1 for each Gangster aboard, remember. So his total Battle Destiny is +3. So that's going to get him to 8, which is exactly where he needed to be. Luke covers 7. The ship covers the rest of it. So you're clearing everything is what you really want. You don't want him just losing Luke and then deploying another Luke or another pilot aboard or playing like Unita or something to get Luke back. You know, he pulled Secret Plans, not Coward, which means he could just ditch the Walkling, retrieve the Luke, and then possibly, you know, cycle around and get him back out later or something and leave the ship there. So now you're just hoping light side draws low. This type of deck tends to draw lots of 4s and 5s. There's 1 5 to start. He'll subtract from it with Maul. Now here's the Destiny to Attrition. Ooh, he draws a 6. That's going to give 10. 10 was the magic number. He can forfeit the gun used, but he's still going to have to lose both people off the first light. It could have been worse. He could have drawn, you know, low enough that just Luke died and the ship got to stay, which would be an even worse predicament. Now we're kind of in the, you know, hope and pray mode. Worst case scenario, first light's going to end up dying, and hopefully he can just no escape it back. There's Solo going here. Okay, so we saw this Solo. We saw Fly Casual. That's telling us right now Tidirium is probably in this deck. You know, Fly Casual can pull the Tidirium. It can also pull Tantive. Where'd it go? Where's the Destiny draw? There it is. Take Tidirium or Tantive 4 into hand. So he can get either ships. You're not 100% sure which one he's using off the bat. Now we see this Solo. It's most likely Tidirium. I mean, I guess there's a chance he could be playing both, but this Solo does some great stuff aboard the Tidirium. Kind of makes it completely immune to attrition. Adds a Battle Destiny, you know. And then he's with Chewie. He adds another Destiny to power. So there's a number of combinations going on here. But we do see Han going to the Jedi Council chamber here, so I'm guessing he doesn't have much else to work with. Now, the other thing here is when deployed, he can reveal the top 2 cards of reserve deck and take one into hand. You put the other one back. So he's going to... He takes, now this is Pod Racing into hand. This is the card he used earlier to get the Skywalker's Hut. He can also use it to get the Nightclub, which would be the Coruscant location that Han would eventually, I guess, move to have a battleground to do something at. Now we're just going to have to wait and see. Okay, he's going to pull Yoda. That's going to shuffle the deck as well to get that Anakin off the top. There's another R2 in red 5, and this time he's got Rey piloting. So he's playing multiples of this ship. It's 7. Sure, why not? Now he's going to use Walkling to get meditation. Okay. And Rey blind draws a 5. He subtracts 1 to make it a 4. Rey adds 1 back to make it a 5. 13 to 5. First light plus a card will cover. Top decks Hondo, loses the ship. Not great. Could have been worse if he had, you know, if he had Han, if he had the Tidirium, It could put Han and the Tidarium up here with this all in space. That could have been some significant overflow. So dodged a bullet there. He will no escape to retrieve the ship back. He'll get his other sight out as well. And he's just going to move Maul over. He's going to play it safe. Bastion's got a huge hand, 14 cards, 17 force that he can activate. Greg has very few characters to work with. We see him pick up the second ship. There's a stunning leader. Now he's going to play a point man and put something back. Go take a look and see what else is in there. There's a bunch of characters. There's also the Masterful move, which he's going to play now to go get the Gick out of his deck. And then he'll pick up another card to get another character. He pulls Battle Order for his third shield. He does have Turn It Off over here as well to play additional defensive shields. Not much else. This is gonna. I mean, Lando might be in this. Should be in this deck. So if you stop Lando from battling, that could be pretty significant. We get another little peek here. There's the Tidarium. We've got to draw their fire as expected. There's an X-wing cannon in there. Okay, to go with all these R2 and red 5s. Seems reasonable between, you know, Zuckuss and Miss Hunter, regular or virtual. Emperor shuttle packages, Maul Sith Infiltrator. There's a number of star fighters that are worth shooting in the current environment. We also do see a rebel leadership. We saw Qui-Gon's lightsaber earlier. It's going to give us a clue. Most likely playing General Kenobi then. Probably also General Leia Organa would make sense to fit with the theme. No nightclub, though. So either he already has it in hand. There you go. Drop Ahsoka with her lightsaber there. Okay, we'll probably see these two. Oh, and Jar Jar as well. So he's just going to load up some characters there. He's going to use Rey and draw the bottom card just because he can. And then he'll move some people over. So he pays to move Han over. He's going to use Yoda's game text. Yoda once per game during your move phase can relocate to an episode 1 battleground as his regular move for free. So instead of paying 1 to move Yoda over, he can just go ahead and move Yoda over for free. Looking at the board here, none of the First Light locations have episode 1 icons. This is typically all the locations you're going to see in play for Dark Side and probably for Light Side as well. So there really isn't any other location that Yoda would move to. So you might as well use his free move and, you know, save a force, draw an extra card, or leave an extra force behind for the next turn. While we're looking at characters, we've got General Jar Jar. Hey, he's another guy who can use those rebel leaderships because they just say generals. Also happens to get rid of some droids. Annoying droids like Probot, like P-59, like maybe Forlom. And if you're playing against Invasion, any battle droids or things like that. Or a stunning move would also probably use them. Battle, use a force, target an opponent's droid. Both players draw destiny. If your destiny +1 greater than their destiny, their droid just dies. I may playing, you know, CCT with IG-88, poof, gone. If you're playing Black Sun with Guri, just draw destiny greater than theirs. Well, yours says +1, so even if you draw the same number, your +1 beats theirs, you win. Interesting card choice for sure. All right. Darkside's going to do the 1 ping damage. He put the First Light back with the point man. Now he's going to deploy it. And he's going back after Rey. We're going to get Kira. She's going to get a gun. And he's going to deploy Proxima aboard as well. So this particular ship is only immune to attrition when Luke is piloting. We've got immune to less than 5, again, +1 for each gangster aboard. Gangster, Proxima, also a gangster. Maul, so he's back to adding 3 to his total. He's only getting 1 destiny this time. But the destiny looked better this time around. And again, Rey only forfeits for 7. So if he can, realistically, if he draws a 4, Maul can add 1 to make it a 5, and then he adds 3 to the total, getting him to 8. That would be enough to clear the whole ship again. He also does have a dark time in hand to subtract 1 from what his opponent draws. And the destiny did seem better this time around. So there's the 5. He does not need to add with Maul here because he's going to get to his 8. Which means now he can use Maul to subtract from what Lightside draws. Lightside draws the 4. Now he can subtract 1 to make it a 3. Rey adds 1 back to the total, making it 4. The ship's immune to less than 5, so Darkside loses nothing. This is a good battle for them. Rey's going to get forfeited. The ship's also going to get forfeited. The objective flips, but that isn't going to do much at this point in time. However, you see the way he moved there. So the flip side of the objective, while this side up, if you're a gangster leader in battle at same site where you have a non-unique blaster, you can add a destiny to total power. Doesn't help in space, but there are certain situations, obviously, on the ground, like if there's a battle where Maul is right now, this could add a destiny to power, because Maul and a blaster are present. This is the big benefit, though. During your draw phase, if Maul alone, you can peek at the cards in your force pile. So you look at the cards in your force pile, they stay in the same order. You don't shuffle, so you know, do I want to draw? Where's the cards I want? Oh, they're on the bottom. Well, I don't want to draw through it and then draw everything. That's going to put too many cards in my hand. Oh, the card I want is on top. Perfect. Let me just draw 2 force then and get what I'm looking for. Also, now because at the end of your turn you flip it back. If you are about to flip it back and you occupy 3 battlegrounds, you cause 1 additional force loss. So it's an extra little ping damage. He did move Proxima down to the location here. He's got the Gick. He's got the stunning leader. He's feeling okay. Worst case scenario, he just ends up using the Gick here. But he's going to cause an additional force loss. And now, because he's flipped, he's going to get that peak. So, hey, Dr. E. Hey, Defensive Fire. Those are 2 good cards I'd probably want to draw. Yep. And it'll cause that 1 additional force loss. Saving a few force in case, that draw their fire that we did see earlier comes out. He's got force to play his interrupts. He pulls resistance, but there's nothing that's adding to this force drain. Like Ahsoka doesn't add to the drain here. There's nothing else going on. So unless I'm missing something, all right. There's the General Leia with the Chewie Protector and the Anakin Jedi. He is going to play Wounded Warrior. So Wounded Warrior mostly used for its or text, right? If your weapon, except a lightsaber, just hit an opponent's character. So all these non-unique blasters that you have, or someone like Aura Singh with gun, or, we've seen it in other decks with like a P-59 character weapon, or destroyer droids or things like that. If you just hit an opponent's character for remainder of turn, character power 0, and may not apply ability toward drawing battle destiny. It's a really big beatdown card, definitely swings battles into a very big way. But the other text is cancel Leia's game text for remainder of turn. which kind of does come in handy. Leia's text here, I mean, we're not using the first part here about, suspending Admiral's orders. However, whenever you initiate a battle with a resistance character, she counts herself for that, you retrieve a force. So by canceling her game text, he's going to stop her from retrieving one. He's also putting a card back, a card he has duplicates of that's unique, getting it out of his hand. Now we also see a Padme here. This is quite a big stack. Greg is going to go for the Stunning Leader. It is going to get canceled by the Quite a Mercenary that we did see earlier. This has to be expected. With this many cards in hand and the fact that we already saw it played earlier, it's very unlikely that Bastion was going to commit this large a pile of resources to a fight that he wasn't confident was going to go through. I mean, Greg could have had 2 Stunning Leaders because it is non-unique. But what this is really going to accomplish is it's going to go ahead and draw out the Gick. Ooh, there's a masterful move. That's a good one. So he does add one with Maul. He's going to make that a 7, which means Chewie can't be forfeited to cover. He's going to have to lose, most likely Padme. He also put Walkling out of play to retrieve one of the R2 and Red 5s, then drew R2 and Red 5 for Battle Destiny. So he's got, 5, 7, 7 nicely stacked on top of his deck there. And he is going to play the Gick to cover the damage, and Padme is going to die. But that's okay. You're looking at Darkside here. They're not paying to drain around Battle Plan. They've got both covered. They've got a ping damage from You'll Be Dead, so they're doing 3 damage a turn for free. Lightside has 2 very big character stacks. There is a 3rd location still open over here that Darkside could just deploy to, plus this other system as well, if they wanted to spread out a little bit. That Darkside could deploy to get resistance into play, which actually does matter this time around because of this site. So this site is a 2/1. It's a drain -1, unless your smugglers there becomes a force drain +1 instead. Chewie being the smuggler. So this is a drain 3 location. If he gets Anakin's lightsaber out, it would be a drain 4 location. So he would want to satisfy a resistance by getting those 3 battlegrounds to limit it to 2. He could get to here to the West Gallery. He could also put out a 2nd ship if he wanted to go back to space. We do see that he does have the Zuckuss. Given that we did just see Darkside, Lightside, they retrieved an R2 and Red 5. He drew another R2 and Red 5. He's not out of ships yet. So I don't know exactly how thin you want to spread out here. Now there are a couple other things looking at Shaw's hand here. He does have some solid card combinations. So there goes a Qui-Gon's lightsaber, there goes the X-Wing laser cannon off the top, there goes the Corran horn off the top. Basically sitting on 7/7 right now in terms of Battle Destiny. Not exactly the type of thing you want to look to battle into for sure. But if you have some strong cards and characters, we've got Dr. E. If you hit a guy, he goes immediately lost. You've got Danik Jericho, when he's armed with a weapon, adds a Battle Destiny. And we've got Ventress, who has lightsabers, who can swing at people. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, this Gaul text, we haven't looked at this location yet. While you occupy, once per battle, you may choose a target just hit by a blaster or rifle, except in a permanent weapon, to be lost. So, all of these non-unique blasters that this deck likes to run, as long as you occupy the system, the one guy that you shoot every battle, which is fairly often you get to shoot somebody, they just immediately die. It's like a built-in Dr. Evazan without the Dr. Evazan text. Having to deploy him there. So you could drop like Ventress and Danik Jericho and battle and still potentially get rid of someone if you have a gun. We're going to have to check out what's left in his reserve deck in a minute here, but... Oh, also have Aura Singh. Forgot she was in the hand there. All right, so we look at the Destiny draws. They're all red cards, so we're talking about 4, 5s, and 6s. Looking pretty strong, pretty solid here. Gonna go ahead and drop Ventress as well. And we're gonna get that Dr. E combo. No blasters, so we're not using Gaul here, but he also, again, he grabbed the Quite a Mercenary. Cancel a Smuggler's game text for remainder of turn is one of the alternate features of this card. These guys being smugglers, very important if you can, cancel their game text. It can definitely have a huge impact on battles. All right, so the objective, here's the downside though. Flip this card if you hit a character, or during your battle phase if your gangsters control 2 battlegrounds. Kira gangster, Maul gangster, objective flips. When it flips, you have an option here. You can immediately recirculate, but when you do, you have to shuffle your deck. So we saw the top cards of his deck. It was like 4, 5, 5, 6. Pretty much would have guaranteed him a swing and a hit and a shoot somebody and hit and take 2 characters out of the battle. Pretty much right away. Swing at Ahsoka, she's hit, operate, get her out of there. And then Aura could shoot anybody else. Aura could shoot Han, operate, take Han out of battle, and it's Yoda and Jar Jar left by themselves here. By shuffling, he is adding a little more randomness to this. He's not adding the Destiny to power because he doesn't have the non-unique blaster there. So I don't know that I would have shuffled here. We're going to see how this plays out, but my initial thought is, take out 2 guaranteed characters. Take out Ahsoka, take out Han. Yoda's left, power 6. Jar Jar's, so you're down to power 10. It's 11 to 10. You clear Jar Jar and Yoda's left by himself, and, light side loses maybe Ventress, or dark side loses maybe Ventress. But maybe he's going for big air. I guess we'll have to see how this plays out. The other option I think he does have is he does not have a permanent weapon. Does not work with permanent weapons. He does not have a regular blaster, so defensive fire on the battle back will not have any impact. So Ventress going for Ahsoka. He does have the blaster deflection. That's going to get grabbed. So this battle's going to go a little sideways here. Knowing that he's got the 2/7 stacked on top, he's going to go ahead and swing at both characters with Ahsoka. Ahsoka and Ventress both have the same thing. Target a character for free, or spend a force you can target 2 characters. Draw 2 Destiny, they're hit, forfeit -2 if your total is greater than their total defense value. Total defense value here is 9, so he has to draw a 10. We know he's got the 2/7s on top, so he's going to draw 14. It's going to clear both people with weapons. Nothing that Greg can do about that, unfortunately, for him. Dr. E giving him the option to operate and kill his own guys if he wants to. I think he's going to pass on that one. Or is going to take a shot at Yoda. Now this is a blaster weapon Destiny, so Maul can add to it. Doesn't need to, though, in this case. He draws 2 4s. That will immediately take Yoda out of the battle. Now, these guys are both forfeit -2, not forfeit 0. So highly likely Dr. E is going to live through this battle. But because of the blaster deflection, light side chooses not to draw Battle Destiny here. Now, by doing so, knowing that dark side's already played their Gick, he's essentially, what Bastion is trying to do is he's trying to trap Dr. E and keep him stuck on the table. If he drew Battle Destiny, dark side would then have attrition that they would have to cover. They could lose Dr. E. Dark side won the battle 13-12, so they have no battle damage and they have no attrition, which means Dr. E cannot be forfeited. He can only have to forfeit the guys that were hit. So in this situation, he can't just lose everybody and just cut his losses. So what he's going to have to do now, I mean, he can still move Dr. E over to the Jedi Council chamber. There is an adjacent location for him to run away to. And that is what we will see Greg do here. Take that out. He's got the force left to do so. He's got the tentacle and then 2 characters. He is going to draw the tentacle. There's the fly casual to pull the Tiderium. Okay. No force ping because Darkseid ran away. There's the leadership to also get General Kenobi out. So there's a decent chance that Dr. E is going to die, but there's not much of a chance he's going to take overflow. I mean, it's possible. We don't know what weapons and things. You know, Rey's not on the table. We saw Qui-Gon's lightsaber go lost already. But, you know, based on how he activated, we do know that those 7s are still floating around. Bastion is going to pay to drain in both locations, so he spends 6 force, drains for a total of 5. Greg loses Dengar with Blaster, Masterful Move, a Black Sun Blaster, Jabba's Twerps, which is a fun little card. Once per game, retrieve a force for each of your alien leaders present at any battleground sites. All your guys can be stacked up together at one site, and it's counting the number of leaders, not the number of sites. So unlike a celebration where it's counting how many sites have you covered, you could have 4 alien leaders all sitting at one site together and then retrieve 4 force. You know, it's a lost 6. Not a card you see all that often because it is very situational and very limited in its use. The other game texts, you're not going to deploy 3 non-unique aliens from reserve deck. There aren't any in the deck to play, so it's really just for the once per game retrieval, and you know it's 6, so it's not like it's hurting you while it's floating around in there. The last guy we see is this Rook. While armed with a blaster, assassins, there's a couple of them, and leaders are immune to blaster proficiency and Clash of Sabers, and if Shadow Collective just flipped, so you flip your deck and you shuffle it, right? Then you can peek at the top 2 cards, take 1 into hand. So you kind of let you reset up your destiny a little bit, plus get an extra card into hand. Not a bad character for this deck as well. As far as life force counts, light side's still pretty significantly ahead here. 15 and 8, 23 to 16. So they both have about the same number of cards in hand. So light side is ahead right now, and they're in a pretty good board spot, causing 5 damage a turn, but they do have to pay for it. And now we are going to get the Kenobi versus Dr. E battle that we expected. Kenobi can't get a lightsaber. It's once per game. He can take it into hand, so you can get the lightsaber into hand, but it's already been lost. But he can do this additional bit here. If alone, can activate a force or add 1 to a just drawn destiny. So he's going to add 1 to his destiny to make it a 6, just to guarantee You know, there's no power swing or anything here. But Darkseid blind draws a 5, which they now add 1 to with Maul to also have a 6. So they're tied in power. Kenobi's immune to less than 6. So now basically both characters are lost. And Shaw now knows what the bottom card of his reserve deck is, which can also help him set some stuff up. Bastion will draw a couple cards as well. So light side doing 5 damage a turn. They're spending 6 force to do it. Dark side doing 3 damage a turn for free. Greg does go ahead and activate all of it. There goes an Anakin's lightsaber from hand. There goes a Baze Malbus off the top. Interesting character we don't see all that often. And there's an X-Wing laser cannon also being forfeited. He's going to drop the tentacle. Question is, will we see him finally force push? Yes. He does go ahead and grab a gun here. Okay, so he forced pushed. There's a bunch of stuff in his force pile he could have chosen. He did choose a gun. It's very important, you know, with what he can do here. Danik Jericho adding a Battle Destiny could be pretty important. Also having a guy to shoot at between Wounded Warrior and the Gaul text. You know, he's got different options. He kind of needs guns to make stuff work. Balatik, also another character he can drop here. Not going to do a whole lot for him here, but this site does look kind of vulnerable. So if you're thinking this is where I want to go attack, get resistance back into play to limit this drain from 3 back down to 2, as well as take another drain off the board and possibly increase your own potential. You know, the blasters shoot at +1. Characters in this location are defense value -1. So Ahsoka is only defense value 4. You're shooting at +1, so you only need to draw 4 to hit anybody. Maul can add 1, so you only need to draw 3 to hit anybody. At this stage of the game, not many characters left. Pretty likely you'll be able to draw that 3. So this is where, you know, a little bit of mastery with the deck. You see he activated all of it. Make sure he could get what he wanted, because he knows he's going to flip in his battle phase because his gangsters control 2 battlegrounds. So he's going to automatically flip and he's going to shuffle them or circulate. And he knows at least the first card he's going to spend is that 5 that he saw last turn. Actually, he shuffled with force push, so strike that. So we don't know where it's going to be. It could be anything. But there weren't, when he looked at it, there weren't a lot of characters in there. There's some blasters, which are 3s and 4s. Lots of red cards were in his force pile. He just put 2 more red cards in there as well. So pretty good chance he's going to hit Ahsoka, take her out of the battle. That'll leave Han by himself. He is a general. He could rebel leadership to at least get a battle destiny. But chances are this is going to be a very good battle for Darkseid. He'll put Danik Jericho. He'll drop the gun. He'll drop Balatik. The objective flips. He recirculates. He shuffles. He's got 6 cards now to work with. Gonna shoot Ahsoka. Take the weapon out of the battle. Take the ability to draw Battle Destiny naturally out of the fight. There's a 4. That was all he needed. Lightside doesn't have any tricks. No blaster deflection. No... They couldn't play blaster deflection even if they had it, because he would have to spend 2 force because it's grabbed. I mean, obviously if he had a dodge, if he had even something like they're tracking us to subtract 1, the Maul could add 1 back. Okay, we speculated about a rebel leadership. He does have it. Now, Darkseid does get to add the destiny to power because they have a gangster leader, which is Balatik, gangster leader, and a non-unique blaster. So now he's got a destiny to power, and he's getting 2 battle destiny because he's got enough ability, and Danik Jericho's adding 1 because he's armed with the blaster. He used the Gaul text to operate and remove Ahsoka. So it's 7 to 4, destiny to power, and 2 battle destiny. Han's covering 10 plus whatever he draws. 7 cards in hand. We haven't seen him like play an escape pod for a Hujix or anything like that yet. There's a pretty decent chance he's already got it in hand. But this is still going to give Darkside pretty solid control of this location. Some very strong Battle Destinies here so far. Destiny to Power was a 4, Battle Destiny of 5, Battle Destiny of 6. Huge. Going to put him up to 22 for a total. And Lightside draws a 1, which is Anakin Skywalker. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, that's okay, because your thoughts dwell on your mother says if Anakin just drawn for Destiny, you can take him into hand to cancel and cause a redraw. No big deal, except for Maul's text over here that says Battle Destiny draws may not be canceled where you have a non-unique blaster. So he can't cancel that and redraw it. He's stuck with the 1, which Maul can now subtract 1 from and make a 0, which means Darkside loses nothing in this battle. They get to keep both characters and the gun, and that's a pretty significant fortification there. If he doesn't have the Hujix, he's losing 12 overflow, which is probably game at this point, given how low on life force they both are. But instead, Bastion does have the Hujix, lives to fight another day. But now he's got to deal with, you know, some pretty rough seas ahead. Greg's going to draw a bunch after peeking, seeing that he's got, you know, some characters and another gun kind of towards the bottom. He's going to draw through that. You know, he can cycle back Wounded Warrior. He can cycle back, double back if he needs extra force to do stuff with. But he can also just take advantage of the fact that he can activate everything and let his objective sort of recirculate mid-turn for him. He'll also get 1 more ping damage in because he has 3 battlegrounds now. And there goes the blaster deflection from hand, because he didn't have the 1 extra force left to pay to do anything with it. Greg will pitch the double back. He also top decks the Prince off the top. Okay, now we're going to get Luke and Red 5 coming back to space, along with the Tiderium, just for extra power and forfeit. Oh, with Wedge. Okay. Wedge Antilles, Red Squadron leader, ordinarily would be really strong in this situation because, you know, Luke being a Red Squadron pilot, he could cancel a Battle Destiny. However, Maul here cannot be canceled where you have a non-unique blaster. So Darkside will still get their Battle Destiny. Now they're grossly outpowered here, 13-5, and Kira only forfeits for 4. The gun covers 3 more. So that's basically 7. So we're looking at 13-12. Plus you're talking about total Battle Destiny being +2. So even though this looks really bad on paper, the First Light might survive this battle. Lightside does finally get to retrieve for initiating a battle with the Skywalker. And then he plays the imbalance combo to make him lose a card for retrieving. And he's just going to lose to blaster deflection again. He's going to play turn it off to get a defensive shield out. Really just using it to cycle back a 5. Now he knows he's got 4 or 5 on the bottom of his deck. Lightside draws a 4. 1 gets subtracted from it, so it's to 3, so it's down to 16-5. Darkside's going to draw. It's a 4, which becomes a 6. So it's 16-11. He'll use the inconsequential to forfeit the gun used. He could just lose 2 cards here. Oh, instead, he does choose to forfeit Kira. Okay. The ship still gets to stay, which is really all he wants. And he'll cycle back a Wounded Warrior as well. Just putting another card back, putting another High Destiny card back. I probably would have thought about losing 2 force in this situation instead of losing Kira. Now, of course, at this stage in the game, he can just move the first light away, right? He's got Hondo he could put down if he wants to for another pilot. He's still satisfying battle plan. He's doing 2 ping damage a turn. He's certainly well ahead in terms of board position, even though he's not ahead on life force. Pardon me while I wet my whistle for a second there. So, you know, you can make a case either way, I think, for that. You could say, well, I don't need to lose the 2 force. I can just lose Kira because I'm just going to put Hondo down and move away. You can put Hondo over here and move away, thinking, what other ships could Darkside possibly have at this point, right? Or Lightside. You know, Red 5's come back for the 3rd time. We saw Tiderium. He's not running like squadron assignments or anything like that. So chances are these are the only ships he's got left, and they're on the table already. So First Light could just move away. And you might as well save yourself the 2 force in that situation. As far as when you're looking at damage output, drain for 2, drain for 1, ping for 2 with the blasters. Darkside's doing 5 a turn. Lightside doing 2 a turn right now, as long as the First Light stays on table to satisfy resistance. Now this Luke does retrieve a force, so it's essentially Darkside's doing 5, Lightside's doing 2, but retrieving 1, so Darkside is still ahead in terms of damage output, as long as they can survive long enough to pull it off. 18 and 20 to 19, so 20 to 19 in terms of total cards right now. So a pretty even game. And the fact he does have another ship, you can also justify as a reason for losing Kira. He also doesn't necessarily need her to continue to flip his objective, because his gangsters do control, because he's got Balatik at the nightclub. So his deck is still flipping mid-turn whenever he wants it. He's going to lose the Anakin. He loses the leadership. He 3POs a card. I've lost track of his deck. I'm sorry. I don't know what that was at the moment. There's a Speak off the top. There's a Rise off the top. And there's another Anakin off the top. Okay, so he's just going to come back in space right at Gaul. He's going to put Hondo as a pilot. He can give Hondo a gun. Instead, he deploys Dr. E, giving him a little more power and forfeit. Dr. E also a pilot. Now, this is a mistake by Greg, which he admitted in the chat with a big oops, because he forgot that since he doesn't have a Black Sun agent leader on table, this gun is not free and it costs him a force to deploy it. Oops was what he said. I think he said dope. Giving a little Homer Simpson there. So he can flip and he can recirculate, but he doesn't have a force left to initiate battle here because he spent the last one deploying the gun. A little bit of a mistake here. Darkside's going to retrieve Fly Casual, putting that 6 right where they can get to it. We do get a ping damage here. So a little bit of a mistake. Chance to take even more board control. Instead, Luke's going to get to retrieve 1. Lando's going to go after Maul. All right, here's a defensive fire. He uses 1 to battle. Defensive fire. If opponent just initiated battle, fire a non-lightsaber, non-permanent weapon present for free and weapon destiny +2. Weapon can fire again this battle. Now you're shooting at +3 greater than defense value. So as long as you don't draw a location, Lando's going to get hit. Even if you did draw a location, Maul could still add one to it to guarantee you're going to hit him. So unless he's got like a dodge or something else that would retarget or cancel the weapon destiny, Lando's going to get hit. And because of the Gaul text, just says while you occupy. You don't have to control the system, just occupy it. So this battle is not going to go through because of that defensive fire. Maul's going to shoot Lando right in the face. And immediately, bye-bye. Thanks for playing. Good seeing you. Oh, he also hit a character, so he flips his objective and he could recirculate. And this is where Bastion's just going to go ahead and throw in the towel here. So just looking at board position from here, if you're about to flip this card and you occupy 3 battlegrounds, opponent loses a force. So Bastion's actually going to lose a force at the end of his turn. He's in a bad spot here, even if he moves away. He's still getting out damaged. It's, drain for 2, drain for 1, 3 force loss, 2 pings equals a total of 5 force loss that he's eating per turn. Plus, if you move away from Gaul, that's 1 more, so now it's up to 6. Dark side can chase you to this system, so you're not getting to drain back. Luke's retrieving 1. You're draining for 2 here, so you're causing 2 damage while taking 5 to 6 damage a turn. And you're already, about even in life force. Not going to last too much longer. Bastion can look ahead far enough and see, this was sort of a last-ditch effort he had. He had to get Maul off the table, clear that 3rd battleground. But in this case, it's not going to work out because of the defensive fire. So, great game by both players. Lots of back and forth, lots of interactions. Thank you to Greg for sending me the link afterwards so I could do this review. Thank you to all of you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. Hope to see you around, do another video again soon. If I don't, see you around the galaxy first. Take it easy, everybody.